Hello and welcome to FTB Sports. This is your daily transfer roundup with myself, Sam, and we have Darius and Solo in the building. Morning, gentlemen. How are we doing?
Not bad, not bad.
Morning.
The morning after the games of the weekend. How are you all feeling about your team's results?
I would say for me, disappointed. I thought we had 3 points in the bag, but unfortunately, with a crooked defense, it's expected. But again, Rashford missed a few chances, but I'm not going to blame him. Defense, we blame the defense for our results.
Okay. And yourself, Darius?
Very, very disappointing for us in terms of our result. I mean, we didn't really show much in the game, but looking at the big picture, it wasn't too bad because a lot of other teams dropped points. So I'm not too bothered, but personally for Spurs, we could do a lot better. We need to do a lot better next game.
Yeah, and that's my summation. Probably disappointing, obviously, yesterday, losing the goal in the 85th minute. But and you look at the big picture, we've gone up from 8th to 5th, where, it sounds funny. 1 point does that, but it is true. So let's see what the games are for the rest of the week. But let's do what we're supposed to do here. And this is the transfer gossip. So the first one up here, Spurs eye Leipzig star Sabitzer. Darius, I'll let you take this one because I know you've got some more European knowledge. Is this a Spurs signing?
I think it's a Spurs and a Jose signing, to be honest. I think it kind of fits the bill for both parties because if we actually look at our transfer dealings with Jose, it's not really been like how Jose operates in other clubs. He's got the players that he's wanted, but the age range and some of the mentality of the players, like Bergwijn's not really a Jose player as we call it, but they're good players that can fill systems and fill positions if Jose was to leave on. And I think Sabitzer does the same thing. He's only 26. He's Leipzig's captain, so he's a big character in that team, and he's a quality player. He can fill in multiple positions. So he's normally, I think he sees himself as an attacking midfielder, but he's played on the right before. He's played as a DM. He's played as a centre mid. So I think it's going to provide a lot of options for Jose in that middle if we do get him. And I think in terms of where he's going to play, I believe that it will probably replace Sissoko because he's got that sort of that boisterous ability and that combative attitude to kind of, I think he'll be able to fit in the Premier League quite well. And he can do what Sissoko does and he can provide more. So he's got a good pass on him. He's got a very good shot on him. And he also can dribble with the ball, which is three things that Sissoko is not necessarily the best at. So I think this is a perfect transfer for Spurs. Whether we get him this January, I mean, his contract finishes, I think, 2022. So whether we get him this January and Leipzig need to sell or we get him in the summer, I think it's going to be a case of when we get him, not if we get him.
Well, it's a surprising, not surprising that we're going for someone like this, but I think for what we need, a utility player isn't probably what I think we should be getting. We should be getting a more targeted box-to-box midfielder. I've said that we need a box-to-box mid. I think we also need a creative midfielder. However, if we can get someone who's an improved quality on someone like Sissoko, even Winks, an upgrade on Winks in terms of quality, then I'd be all for it. I'm just not sure about this utility style footballer. Solo, any thoughts on that as a sign-in for Spurs?
For me, again, yeah, it's a Jose signing, I'm going to say, because that's when you look at Jose throughout sort of his Chelsea day, Madrid, in Milan, and obviously Man United, now at Spurs. You look at some of the plays he gets, and he more or less, like you just said, about getting a target man. He's not about that, though, is he? He's about someone who can utilize. So you basically will get him to play probably in some games at centre-back, depending on what formation he's playing.
Yeah, so what I mean by target is targeting the type of player to actually play in a certain position. Now, this guy's a midfielder for all intents and purposes. And, although we have a lot of midfielders, I think we lack a box-to-box. A Steven Gerrard, let's say you could have an ideal player, a Steven Gerrard, who's going to do at both ends of the pitch, score goals, defend, track back, find a pass, does everything. The Paul Scholes type player as well. There's not many of those in world football anyway. No. So it's going to be a one that everybody's looking for, but it's certainly something that we should be looking to get.
But do you think, though, do you believe he would play box-to-box for Jose with the sort of tactics Jose play? I don't think he's a Jose signing. I'm not saying he's not, but at the same time, for me, is will he utilize him well enough if you were to get him? But like what Darius said, if Jose was to leave, another manager come in because of the age gap as well, it's a good signing.
Guys, I think we've talked about this before. The way that the signings are being done at Spurs, with Daniel Levy being involved, Steve Hitchens being involved, they are buying players that are there for the long haul. What I mean by that is they're not just a Jose type player. He's not buying 30, 32, 33-year-old players. They're buying young enough players that I think have the versatility to be able to adapt. So I'm hoping that this type of player is an adaptable player, that if the manager was to go in a year, 2 years time, and he's still there, he's able to adapt. And I've seen enough to say that the players can adapt to various systems. So I think, it's a Jose signing if he has that ability to be able to do that. But I don't know much about his quality, so I can't comment from that perspective.
And then with that as well, like you said, Daniel Levy, that's perfect as well, because that's a sell-on as well, isn't it? Depending on what your funds are as well, because of the age.
Exactly. All right, then let's move on to the next transfer rumour. And I'll come to you, Solo, for this one, seeing this is your rivals. Real Madrid target City's Foden.
Never. I couldn't see it happening. Could not see it happening. I think, to be honest with you, Pep have nurtured this player. He's sort of almost first few games when he came on the scene. He only played about first season, I think, in the sort of like the little cups and stuff like that to begin with. Then sort of like last season, he started bringing him in more and more and more. He wouldn't go. I don't think he would go to Real Madrid, because at the moment he's a City fan. Not only is he a City fan, but he believes and trusts in what like Pep Guardiola is doing, and is a focal point of what Man City are trying to do right now. So I can't really and truly see him leaving. I don't think this transfer will happen, especially right now, the condition Real Madrid's in, unless they're going to give him an 8-year contract and promise him loads of stuff, which for me, I can't see. No, can't see this transfer going through.
If I looked at this in a normal transfer, in a normal scenario where everything was on an even keel, we didn't have the COVID sort of stuff and all the rest of it, this is a brilliant signing. If this was to happen, Foden, in terms of the player going to a team like Real Madrid, his skill set, his ability to be able to play from a left sort of position, even on the right, straight through the middle, just behind the striker, pops up as a number 10. I think, as well as that, has the talent and the ability to develop his game further, being the young player that he is. So could he become a box-to-box as well? I think he's got that
100%.
That ability. I think he's just a talented footballer that would slot straight into someone like a Real Madrid's first 11, and would bring something a different. I see that as something. I look at him almost like a Jack Grealish. You know, you trust him with the ball. You give him the ball anywhere, he'll do something with it. I've seen him beat a player for fun. He's got a trick on him. He's just got that ability. And now he's beginning to score goals as well. That's a perfect
add it into his game.
A perfect sort of forward stroke midfielder. So is this the sort of player that, you know, would benefit from being at Real Madrid? Darius, do you think?
No, I don't think Real Madrid is the best place for Phil Foden. I don't think it will ever happen, him going to Real Madrid. But what I do have to say about Phil Foden is I actually don't think Phil Foden is a focal point of Man City right now. And I asked the question, how long until you make him a focal point before he starts to realize I can do better in my career? Because Foden's still coming off the bench at 8. He came off the bench in the 90th minute in the last game they played. And I just don't think that Foden, in my opinion, Foden is probably one of the top three best talents of that England has at the moment, young talents that England has. And I don't personally think that Foden is really making the most of his Man City career. And it's not his fault, because Pep's not really giving him any opportunities. So if Foden was to leave, the place that I could see Foden going, and the place that I actually think Foden really embodies is Barcelona, really. If Barcelona were to really pick up their ideas and wanted to rebuild a team, Foden plays like a Barcelona player, if that makes sense. He's an attacking mid, but he's so silky with the ball. The way he checks his shoulder, the way he knows that where space is, and he can play off a one touch. He reminds me so much of Iniesta. He has that Barcelona quality to him. So if he was to leave, which I don't think he will leave, I don't really see the point. Like you said, he's born and bred Man City. I don't think Real Madrid would be the best place, because I think they have players in that position already that play similar to Foden, like Odegaard, and they do have a lot of young players already that they're already trying to keep in that first team and not try and sell on. So I think Foden at a team like Barcelona will work, but I just don't think it would. I don't think Foden would go anywhere at the moment. I think he's going to try and hold out to become a mainstay in this Man City team. But right now, I don't think he is.
Okay,
Also,
so I was going to say there's a couple of things in that for me. It does depend on who would be the long-term manager at Real Madrid. That would make a massive difference to how the player would develop. I don't know if Zinedine Zidane is that player to really develop that type of player. Another manager may come in and do that. But as well as that, City, if all talks are to believe, they're going for certain players. There's this talk about Messi potentially in January, maybe the summer. We've already discussed the Haaland's transfer that could happen, another forward player. So you're kind of limiting your the talent that you have there in terms of a Foden being able to come through. So maybe, someone says to you, right, you can stay at City, be a bit part player, or you could go to the biggest club in the world and be a mainstay. I think he'd take it only for that reason. That said, I do agree with what you're saying.
That's the thing. He could go to any club, I think, Foden. I think he's quality enough to be at any club.
Yeah. But I'm agreeing with you guys. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it is something to maybe make City sit up and think a little bit more about what they're doing with him. And maybe that is a bit of pressure that the player and his agent might be putting on them as well. So it's something that I think is being used as a tool to maybe get him more in City's thoughts.
And a new contract as well.
Yeah, we've got a comment here from Adam Morris, and this is just referring to Kane. So Kane seems to excel in the number 10 role. Would you keep him there and buy a new striker? Well, I said I don't want to really go into this about the Spurs one, but we've got a striker there in Carlos Vinicius, and he's not being played. So I think we need to see how Kane develops over the next few games. When I say develop, I mean how is he going to play? I think he's been found out. I think the team's been found out. But as I said, I don't want to really go too much into the Spurs stuff, as we've already done that yesterday. So let's go on to the last rumor. Obviously, very Spurs orientated today.
Trying to go off Spurs,
we have to go it. We have to deal with it. These are the rumors. So Delhi wanting a reunion with POCH at PSG. Now, I'm not sure if it's been confirmed as yet if POCH has signed at PSG. The report suggests that it is very, very close. Solo, I'll come to you and then I'll come to Darius because he's probably got more to say on this. But what's your thoughts on POCH? What's your thoughts on PSG? What's your thoughts on Dele Alli playing for that team?
Well, for me, my thoughts on, let's start with POCH first. I'm a huge fan of POCH. I've been a huge fan of POCH since the Southampton days. Bringing through like the youth. For me, it's almost like his style of play. His style of play, I've always said, is a Man United. That's who I would like at Man United. So since Southampton, I've been crying for him to go to United. But obviously, he went to Spurs. And then from Spurs, still crying about him being at United. And now, the manager now of PSG has been sacked. It seems like he's PSG bound. And for PSG, that's brilliant what they've done. It's absolutely brilliant bringing him in now while he can, because obviously, depending on how Ole have done this season, I think even if Ole finish in top 4, I think they probably would have got rid of him end of the season anyway. But for Pochettino going to PSG, yeah, it's a bargain. It's a good sort of fit. Also with Dele Alli, I think I've watched certain things with Dele Alli who's come out and actually said like Pochettino is almost like a father figure to him. Yeah. And also with Poch, if he, again, before Poch was even linked with the PSG job or any other job, like recently when he was on Monday Night Football, all he did was praise Dele Alli.
Bloody compared him to Ronaldinho, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So for me, again, and also when you look at it, I think Dele Alli with it as well with Poch gets the best out of him. And I think since he's left, he's declined since Poch has left Tottenham. So for me, it's like I'd say, match perfectly. Go there.
I think, as you've mentioned, it's a perfect match. If we could possibly work out a loan deal with them, because I think Dele Alli's talented. I just think he needs that manager that Poch was to him. He play him regardless of whether he's going through a bit of a bad patch. He seems to be one of the favourites. When Jose initially came, he gave Dele that chance. Dele seemed to respond to that early doors and was playing really well. But then he had a dip. what Poch used to do was keep him in the team, was keep him in playing around, and regardless of whether he was playing well or not. And that's why I think Dele liked that, because he's the sort of player that I think has these spurts. He has these moments where he can play fantastically well, look like a world beater, and then he'll kind of go into a show. That could be stuff off field. I don't know. I can't go into all of that. But do you think that this will happen in January, Darius?
Not January, because of the situation that we're in. I think Dele going to PSG will depend on whether we have a guaranteed replacement, because if we was to lose Dele Alli and not sign a replacement, that could be quite bad for our team if we were to lose a player. And I do think that PSG want him. And I think that Poch, when I look at Poch and Dele Alli, I think when Dele Alli joined Spurs, he was young. He had something to prove. He was coming from MK Dons. He really put in that effort to make himself seem like the player that everybody wanted him to be. And he turned out to be that player. Now he's 24. I think Dele Alli needs to have world-class players around him doing the work for him, so that he's able to just focus on doing what he wants to do, which is attacking and getting in behind strikers and supporting strikers. So I actually think PSG will probably work quite well, solely because he's surrounded by quality. But then if Poch is going to continue to play the way he played with Spurs, then those players are going to have to work hard for him. And Neymar and Mbappe, and Tuchel has the same sort of system. Neymar and Mbappe didn't do that in Tuchel's system. All the other players around them had to work for those men in that system. They had to fill those spaces and work hard for those players. So then when they went forward, they allowed those players to do what they can do, because they're good enough to do that. I think Ali's in the same situation where he won't really want to work hard because he's proven himself now, but he's in Paris, he's young, he's surrounded by world-class players, guaranteed a league basically, back with his favorite manager. I think it is, like you said, a match made in heaven. It's just the logistics of it and whether that would make sense for Spurs to sell Ali in January. I just don't think that would. It wouldn't make sense for Spurs to sell. Like I said, a loan deal would probably be the best thing for them. And then if he really does well and wants to leave, you sort out a deal in the summer and you find your replacement.
That's good. That's good. I like that. We've got a couple of comments. I just want to show a couple of comments whilst we're on. So we've got Adam again. Poch is a rich man. Solskjaer, not a fan. But he will be considered the top manager for winning the Farmers League trophy. So again, we've got people saying that Poch isn't a top manager. And what do you consider a top manager? Someone that's won a lot, or someone that plays the type of football that a team needs? It's a really difficult one. I think the type of football that Poch would play would suit PSG if he can get players to buy into it. It would have definitely suited Man United. So there's another comment here from Adam as well. Also, I believe Van der Beek would fit like a glove in that Spurs team if you offered Dele Alli. And that's 100%. You could have Dele Alli and we would take that Van der Beek. Oh my God, I think that would be a fantastic deal. Take Van der Beek all day long.
100%.
All day long. I've seen enough to say his work ethic would be twice as much as Dele's. And he looks like a player he's not shy of, stating that he wants to play. But he's also... he doesn't throw his toys out the pram. He's not started for Man U much this season, but he's still, when he comes on and when he starts, he puts in that effort, which is what I love to see. I love to see
that. For me, yes, Adam, I understand what you're saying, Adam, but for me, with Van der Beek is probably United only got two leaders. One of them is Bruno Fernandes and the other one's Van der Beek. Apart from that, we have no leaders. Van der Beek, every game you see him play, he rolls the sleeve up and he gives it 100%. He gets dirty. Around looking at other United players, again, no, not for me. Captain, fantastic, both those players. So there's nowhere on earth. I like Dele Alli. I would love him at United. But again, would I saw from Van der Beek? The answer is no.
Okay. Well, as I said, I don't think any of that's going to happen, to be honest.
I think Van der Beek's more for after Pogba leaves, isn't it, really? That signing was more for when Pogba to go on and do what he wants to do, and then Van der Beek can slot into that team quite easily, isn't it?
And I think he's probably been told that, because the way I see he's not, as I said, a player that's been brought in for fairly substantial money, looking like he's a first-team player, is not playing for unknown reasons, can only be that he's been given some assurances that he will be one of the main men when Pogba leaves, because I don't think the Pogba is a if, I think it's a when situation. So, Van der Beek does, to me, slot well into that system. But again, if he was to be available, I'm sure that Spurs could possibly think about.
We were linked with him before, weren't we? So Again, same thing with Fernandez.
There could be some sort of deals there, but as I said, it's very, very remote. One other comment here. What does Errol make of Pogba embarrassing our club? So we're going into a Man United show now. We're going into the Man United deals, but you can answer that one quickly if you want, and then we'll start wrapping up.
The thing is, what I said, if Pogba had a British name, he wouldn't be criticised by anyone. Simple. He's got a foreign name. So Pogba is sort of always the scapegoat at Man United. So again,
price tag as well.
Yeah, so that's all I was going to say. We got a guy called Maguire that plays 85 million and constantly creating problems in defence, but I don't hear anyone criticising him.
Very true. Very true.
We've all probably got players and differences in our club that we can look at and think, we could do that with them. They should be doing that, and that's going to be the same for any player. But when they're not playing well, we're quick to dig them out. When they're doing fantastically well, we're saying, "Oh yeah, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread."
Again, quick one on the Pogba. In his last 3 games, he's came on as a sub. He changed games.
Yeah, true. Well, as I said, there's plenty of games coming up now. We've got to really see how the next few games kind of progress and pan out over the next few days. We've got 2 more games before the 4th of January. So there's going to be some changes at the top. There's probably going to be some changes at the bottom. But we will be doing this as a transfer show again. So again, we're going to wrap up now. So everybody watching, like, subscribe, comment, share this. Make sure you put the FTB Sports out there for us. Get the numbers up. And we will be having another transfer show tomorrow, hosted by Darius or by Solo. I don't know yet, but we'll see what happens. And then there's going to be further review shows and further post-match reaction shows coming up in the very near future. So keep it here for all your sports. It's FTB Sports. Thank you, Solo. Thank you, Darius, again for coming on. Take care, guys. See you later.
Take care. Bye.